Our story begins in the late 8th century AD. Picture the rugged landscapes of Scandinavia, icy fjords, dense forests, and windswept coastlines. Here lived a people, hardy and strong, who would soon change the course of history. These were the Vikings. Before the raids, they were farmers, fishermen, and skilled craftspeople. Their world was one of close-knit communities and deep traditions. They built sturdy homes, crafted tools and weapons, and navigated the treacherous seas in their longships. Their lives were governed by the changing seasons and the bounty of the land. Little did they know, a storm was brewing on the horizon. A confluence of factors would soon propel these peaceful people onto the world stage. What spurred these seemingly peaceful people to become warriors and raiders? The answer lies in a complex interplay of factors. One key element was overpopulation. As their numbers grew, so did the demand for resources. Limited farmland and opportunities for advancement created internal pressures. Simultaneously, the Vikings witnessed the wealth of other civilizations through trade. The lure of riches, coupled with their seafaring skills, proved irresistible. Some sought adventure and glory, eager to test their mettle. Others were driven by a desire for land and a chance to establish their own domains. The Viking spirit was one of ambition and exploration. This unique combination of internal pressures and external opportunities fanned the flames of the Viking Age. The Viking Age, spanning roughly 3 centuries, was a period of unprecedented change. Their impact resonated far beyond their Scandinavian homeland. From North America to the Caspian Sea, their voyages left an indelible mark. Their legacy is etched in the fabric of our modern world. Place names, language, and even our genetic makeup bear witness to their influence. Their stories of bravery and exploration continue to captivate our imaginations. Imagine a land sculpted by ice and fire, where towering mountains cast long shadows over deep fjords. This was Scandinavia, the cradle of the Viking Age. Winters were long and harsh, the land locked in ice and snow. Yet the Vikings thrived in this unforgiving environment. Spring brought a burst of life to the land. The snow retreated, revealing fertile valleys and verdant meadows. Crystal-clear rivers teemed with fish, and the forests provided ample timber. The Vikings understood the rhythms of nature, knowing when to sow and when to reap. Their farmsteads were scattered across the landscape, small clusters of buildings connected by winding paths. They cultivated barley, oats, and rye, staples of their diet. Livestock provided wool, milk, and meat. The sea, however, was their lifeblood, teeming with fish and providing a vital source of protein. The heart of the Viking world was its society and structure. The Vikings were a collection of independent communities, each with its own chieftain and customs. Their social structure was hierarchical, with power residing in the hands of the chieftain and his warriors. Family ties were strong, and loyalty was paramount. Life for the Vikings was communal. Women played a vital role, managing the household and raising children. Skilled craftsmen were highly valued, forging weapons and tools. Traders traveled far and wide, exchanging goods and bringing back new ideas. Justice was swift and often brutal, with disputes settled through blood feuds or by the thing. The Vikings lived by a strict code of honor, valuing courage, loyalty, and strength in battle. The Viking world was steeped in myth and legend. They believed in a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each representing different aspects of nature and human experience. Odin, the All-Father, ruled over Asgard, the realm of the gods. Thor, the god of thunder, protected them from giants and monsters. Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, brought prosperity and abundance. These tales were more than just stories, they were a way of life. Myths and legends explained the mysteries of the natural world and provided moral guidance. The aurora borealis was said to be the reflection of the Valkyries, warrior maidens who carried fallen heroes to Valhalla. No image is more synonymous with the Vikings than the longship. This remarkable vessel allowed the Vikings to navigate rivers, sail across the open ocean, and even land directly on beaches. The longship was more than just a means of transportation. It was a symbol of Viking power and prowess. Its sleek lines and fearsome dragon head at the prow struck terror into the hearts of their enemies. The Vikings took great pride in their ships, adorning them with intricate carvings and brightly painted shields. They were skilled navigators, using the stars, the sun, and even the flight of birds to find their way. The longship was the key to the Vikings' success, enabling them to raid, trade, and explore with unparalleled reach and speed. It was the serpent's spine upon which they rode to fame, fortune, and their destiny. From their earliest days, the Vikings were intimately connected to the sea. It was in their blood, a constant presence in their lives. As children, they learned to swim, fish, and respect its unpredictable nature. The sea was their playground, provider and pathway to the wider world. As they grew older, this familiarity evolved into a deep understanding of the sea's rhythms. Young boys learned the craft of shipbuilding, mastering techniques passed down through generations. The construction of a longship was a communal effort, a testament to the Vikings' cooperative spirit. The launch of a new longship was a cause for celebration, marked by rituals and feasting. The Viking longship, a marvel of engineering and craftsmanship, was the key to their success. Crafted from oak and pine, these versatile vessels were designed for both speed and maneuverability. The secret to the longship's strength and flexibility lay in its unique construction. The Vikings employed a technique known as clinker building, where the planks of the hull overlapped and were bound together with iron rivets. This method created a light, yet incredibly strong hull, capable of flexing and absorbing the shock of waves. The longship's versatility was further enhanced by its sail and oars. The large square sail could catch the wind and propel the ship forward with surprising speed. When the wind was unfavorable, the Vikings relied on their oars, transforming the vessel into a swift and deadly weapon. The exact reasons behind the first Viking raids are shrouded in the mists of time. Some historians believe they were triggered by economic hardship, others by a desire for wealth and glory. One of the earliest and most audacious raids targeted the holy island of Lindisfarne in 793 AD. This peaceful monastery was unprepared for the Viking onslaught. The raiders arrived swiftly and silently, their longships appearing like phantoms from the sea. The Vikings stormed ashore, their terrifying war cries echoing across the island. They ransacked the monastery, seizing gold, silver, and religious artifacts. The raid on Lindisfarne sent shockwaves through Christendom, marking the arrival of a new and terrifying force. The Vikings were masters of surprise and lightning-fast attacks. Their longships allowed them to navigate rivers and approach their targets undetected. They often struck at dawn, when their victims were most vulnerable. Their tactics were brutal, but effective, relying on speed, agility, and ferocity. The Vikings were skilled swordsmen and axemen, their weapons honed to a razor-sharp edge. They fought with a berserker rage, fueled by a belief in their own invincibility. The Vikings were also masters of psychological warfare. Their fearsome appearance, often enhanced by tattoos and war paint, was designed to intimidate. Their longships, adorned with fearsome dragon heads, added to the spectacle of terror. The psychological impact of a Viking raid often proved as devastating as their physical attacks. The impact of Viking raids on European societies was profound and far-reaching. Coastal communities lived in a perpetual state of fear, never knowing when the Vikings might strike. Monasteries and churches became prime targets for plunder. The Vikings' thirst for treasure knew no bounds. They looted gold, silver, jewels, and religious relics, amassing vast fortunes. This influx of wealth had a transformative effect on Viking society, fueling trade and boosting the status of successful warriors. However, the impact of the raids went beyond material loss, shattering the peace and prosperity of Europe. The psychological trauma inflicted on communities took generations to heal. Section 4. A Clash of Worlds. The Vikings and Christendom. The Viking raids brought two distinct cultures into direct and often violent contact: the pagan world of the Vikings and the Christian world of medieval Europe. This clash of cultures was characterized by mutual suspicion, incomprehension, and often outright hostility. The Vikings, with their belief in Norse gods and goddesses, saw the Christians as weak and their faith as alien. The Christians in turn viewed the Vikings as heathen barbarians, their raids as punishment for their sins. This clash of ideologies often resulted in the destruction of churches and monasteries seen as symbols of Christian power. However, the interaction between Vikings and Christians was not always characterized by violence and destruction. As the Vikings began to settle in different parts of Europe, they gradually adopted aspects of Christian culture, while also leaving their own indelible mark on the societies they encountered. The Viking Age, marked by its early raids, was a period of profound change and upheaval. It was a time of terror and destruction, but also a time of cultural exchange and transformation. The Vikings, once seen as savage barbarians, would eventually play a pivotal role in shaping the political and cultural landscape of Europe. The early Viking raids, fueled by a thirst for plunder and glory, had brought wealth and fearsome reputations to these warriors from the north. Yet the spoils of raiding, however tempting, were ultimately fleeting. The Vikings, ever pragmatic and adaptable, began to see the limitations of this lifestyle. The constant need to seek out new targets, the risks involved in every raid, and the instability it brought to their own communities led some Viking leaders to seek more permanent solutions. They began to look beyond the quick rewards of raiding and envision a future where they could establish themselves as rulers and landowners, not just plunderers. This shift in thinking was driven by several factors. The Vikings, through their raids and explorations, had gained valuable knowledge of the lands they encountered. They learned of fertile farmlands, strategic locations, and most importantly, the weaknesses of their enemies. A new generation of Vikings, raised on tales of their fathers' exploits, yearned for more than just fleeting riches. They craved land, power, and the opportunity to create a lasting legacy for themselves and their families. The seeds of ambition, sown in the blood-soaked fields of their raids, were beginning to sprout anew, pushing the Vikings towards a new chapter in their history. The transition from raiders to settlers was marked by a change in tactics and priorities. No longer content with temporary camps and fleeting victories, the Vikings began to establish permanent bases along the coasts and rivers of Europe. These fortified settlements, strategically located and fiercely defended, served as launching pads for further expansion and a testament to their growing ambition. These strongholds, often built on islands or at the confluence of rivers, offered natural defenses and controlled vital trade routes. They were more than just military outposts. They were centers of trade, craftsmanship, and cultural exchange, attracting merchants, artisans, and settlers from far and wide. The Vikings, renowned for their seafaring prowess, also demonstrated their skills as builders and engineers in the construction of these fortifications. They used timber, stone, and earth to create formidable ramparts, ditches, and palisades, effectively deterring attacks and securing their newfound territories. The rise of Viking strongholds marked a turning point in their history. It signaled their growing confidence, their desire for permanence, and their transformation from raiders into settlers, traders, and, ultimately, rulers of vast new domains. The allure of land, a tangible and lasting reward, proved irresistible to many Vikings. The harsh climate and limited farmland of Scandinavia paled in comparison to the fertile valleys they encountered. The promise of a more prosperous future fueled their desire to settle and cultivate these new lands. Skilled farmers and livestock breeders, they brought knowledge of crops and techniques. They established farmsteads, cleared forests, and transformed wild landscapes. This newfound prosperity fostered trade and encouraged the development of towns. This transition marked a profound shift in the Viking Age. It was a time of adaptation, innovation, and a new Viking identity rooted in family, community, and the land. The Viking Age, spanning 3 centuries, left an indelible mark far beyond their Scandinavian homeland. Once known for violence and plunder, their story now reveals a nuanced culture and enduring legacy. Vikings were skilled seafarers, explorers, traders, artisans, and settlers who shaped history. They founded major cities like Dublin, York, and Kiev, influencing the genetic and cultural makeup of these regions. Their influence is still felt today in language, art, mythology, and traditions. Stories of bravery and adventure continue to inspire books, films, and art. The Viking spirit lives on in their rugged landscapes, stories, and enduring legacy.